For the second event of the season in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup, we're at Zandvoort, we're at the seaside, and we're at an old school circuit with a few modern touches. It's a 27-strong entry and 2 cracking races in prospect, just as we had at Magny-Cours for the first round of the championship. The first race beginning in the dark, Charles Weert on pole position, and plenty of drama over the opening laps, including a big spin from the Mercedes in the hands of Konstantin Terashenko. The Tempesta Sky Ferrari was on its toes, trying to wriggle its way up through the order as the pit window opened, and there was the usual shuffling of places as the teams busily got to work. It was Lamborghini versus Audi in the pits, but a real star on the track in the second stint was Raffaele Marciello, threading his way through the traffic, curb and all, in the ACA ASP Mercedes. There was a good battle going on for third and fourth places. Alex Fontana's Lamborghini just ahead of the Lukas Stolz Maro Engel Mercedes. Marciello up to 6th place as he dived down to the end of the lap. That put him ahead of Mathieu Drudi in the Audi, as up front Charles Weert and Dries Van Thor headed for a maiden victory of the season in the Sprint Cup. Checkered flag flew and it was first blood to the WRT run Audi. Daylight for race 2, Maro Engel on pole position. He led away from Albert Costa, and then the Jota-run McLaren of Ben Barnicoat. There was drama on the opening lap, however. Jules Gounod the casualty as his ACA ASP Mercedes ran out wide through the gravel and lost a whole heap of places. Before long, Ben Barnicoat was up to second at the expense of Albert Costa. He had a tyre going down and lost the car. Around he went as up and past him came Dries Van Thor. And then further drama off the road, the WRT Audi of Benjamin Goethe. Full course yellow followed, that was soon a safety car. And on the pit stops, up into second place, jumped Timur Boguslavski, taking over from Marciello. On the restart, it was the number 6 Mercedes that led away. Stolz and Engel leading the race as into the gravel plunged Jules Gounod and Nikolai Kiergaard. Charles Weert threw on the inside to gain a place, but he copped a penalty for that, and the place had to be reversed post-race. To the checkered flag and a race win, the Mercedes of Lukas Stolz and Maro Engel, victorious at Magny-Cours. Dries Van Thor and Charles Weert come here as championship leaders after their results at Magny-Cours. Van Thor looking forward to 2 races here and revelling in an old school circuit.
It's an old school track, and you know, a small mistake can have a big impact on the weekend. So it's back to old school. That's what we all like as a racing driver. It's a sprint race, so it's from lap 1 until your box. It's giving everything you have. We're leading the championship, so we have to be smart and we have to take points home. So that will be an eventful weekend.
It was a mixed weekend for Maro Engel and Lukas Stolz at Magny-Cours. They had a win, but only classified 25th in the first race. Maro Engel knows they've got to score points here.
I think we have a really strong car with the Mercedes-AMG GT3, and you know, it showed that. So yeah, hopefully we can just continue on that way this weekend. I mean, ideally for us, we would love to start at the front and try and have a race like we had in race 2 in Magny-Cours. It's an important weekend for points, obviously, in the championship. Usually it's a track we perform well at, so looking forward to hopefully a strong weekend.
Raffaele Marciello, sporting green hair for the weekend, lies 3rd in the standings. He's another driver looking forward to this old school track.
Yeah, it's quite nice to come here. Now it's a bit difficult because it's like 2 tracks in 1 track, because half of the track is with the new asphalt, half is with the other. We are quite quick. Our mechanics, they do a great job in pit stop. All the package looks quite strong. We're here to win, so we have to try to win.
Against Audi and Mercedes comes Porsche. Dynamic Motorsport has a solo entry. Christian Engelhardt shares driving duties with Adrian Delina. After a tough time at Magny-Cours, the aim here is points.
We've been working on finding a good setup. We had a good test in Magny-Cours, and we felt that we had a good baseline. Unfortunately, on the race weekend, we found ourselves quite out of the pace. So far in Zandvoort, we feel much more confident. So I think we're within, you know, a good range to be competitive and get some points.
Don't ignore the battles that rage on in this championship in the Silver Cup or in Pro-Am. Championship leaders in Pro-Am after Magny-Cours, Andrea Bertolini and Louis Machiels.
We are first in class now, so we will fight for the championship. Global, it would be nice if we can win again the championship, because I became 50 this year. It's 10 years that I'm doing racing with this organization, so that would be a dream for me.
Barwell Motorsport has added a Sprint Cup programme to its very successful Endurance Cup pedigree for 2021. A single entry, one of the 2 drivers, Miguel Ramos.
It's a great circuit, but it's my first time here, also Enric first time, and the team also the first time. And it's a circuit with a lot of technique and fast and banking. We don't know the circuit, so it's a big difference compared to other competitors. But we are here and we'll do our best.
Another Pro-Am contender, the Garage 59 Aston Martin. Alexander West is one of the two drivers. The other is Aston Martin hot shoe Johnny Adam.
Consistency is what we're looking for this weekend. You know, if we can ultimately get 2 podiums this weekend in our class, that would be great for the championship. And it's just nice to come here with the sprint championship and learn from it as well. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Emil Frey Racing has had a bit of a shuffle around of drivers for this weekend. It means that Ricardo Fella, for example, has a new co-driver. But for him, the most important thing is the speed around the circuit.
It's one of my favorite tracks in Europe because we have a cool mix between low-speed corners. The highlight is the high-speed section, especially going up the hill to turn 7, going down to turn 8. Yeah, it's a really good place to be.
Konstantin Terashenko is another member of that young generation of driver coming into GT racing. It's great to have them on the grid, but of course they're learning about these new circuits all the time.
I'm first time here. I learn the track. Every lap for me is new. Like I'm learn lap by lap. These tracks are very different compared to the others in the championship. We look not bad, and yeah, for sure we want to win.
And keep an eye as well on the Sky Tempesta racing Ferrari that has shown great pace in sprint and endurance races. This weekend, Giorgio Roda steps into the seat to join regular driver Chris Froggatt.
Unfortunately, like Magny-Cours, this is a track that my teammate Giorgio had never been to, so a little bit on the back foot with, you know, other lineups that, let's say, a bit more experienced. But yeah, he's doing really well. He's driven quite a lot, so let's see, fingers crossed.
Don't forget that the brands are scoring points all over the globe. Audi takes on BMW and Ferrari. There's Lamborghini, of course. Don't forget to add to the mix McLaren, or indeed Mercedes and Porsche. They're all scoring points from Europe to Australia to America. And right now, McLaren looking very strong indeed, coming here ahead of Mercedes with Porsche and Audi chasing on behind. Yesterday's race changed that manufacturer's points table somewhat because ultimately it will be a win for Lamborghini, a big haul of points for them. The race got underway with a very quick starting. Number 14 Lamborghini getting the race lead. Ricardo Fella diving down towards the Tarzan hairpin just ahead of the number 107 Bentley, which was started by Ulysse de Pauw. But there was so much battling going on around, and also one or two slightly curious getaways, that enabled the number 14 leading Lambo to build a big gap. And Ricardo Fella and then Alex Fontana in the second stint were never headed. The car broke away midway around the opening lap and utterly dominated the race. Timur Boguslavski was on his toes trying to get up on the inside. Out wide into the gravel fell Nelson Panciatici. 108 recovered, but then copped a drive-through penalty late in the race as well. The Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes given a bit of a rub, and ultimately that would suffer more damage when it made contact coming into the pit lane. It was a great move round the outside to get the lead of Pro-Am by Miguel Ramos, and the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini went on to win the class in yesterday's race. And as the pit window opened, everybody dived for the pit lane. The Topsport WRT Mercedes, the white Mercedes of those three in the pit lane, had a slow stop. Mauro Engel took over, lost 2 places and had a spin on his outlap, which really did no good for their chances whatsoever. A battered Mad Panda came into the pit lane with all sorts of trackside furniture stuck to the front of the car as the battles raged on out on track. And a man in a big hurry as ever, Raffaele Marciello, picking his way through, picking his way forward. Christopher Meese got run out wide. With pointy elbows, Mauro Engel was on a mission. Meese bounced his way from curb to grass and back onto the tarmac, and then had a rub with Albert Costa's Lamborghini when he was going past at Tarzan. That did a tyre straight away and put Albert Costa out of the race. Up into second place came Raffaele Marciello as Pierre-Alexandre Jean dropped back into third. Dries Vanthoor tried to go around the outside of Mauro Engel, contact between the two, and ultimately 7th went to Engel and Stolz, 8th to Vanthoor and Weerts. As a race win, the first in the championship went to Ricardo Fella and Alex Fontana, second to Timur Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello. So welcome to Zandvoort. Welcome to the second race of our second Sprint Cup event in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. The sun is shining, a bit overcast this morning, lots of overnight rain, but the track now in fine fettle as we get set to go racing. Down on the grid, Gemma Scott, trackside David Addison and John Watson. And John, temperatures are going up, so too the levels of anticipation. We'll come to John in a moment as we have the cars on the grid. There you see number 32 Audi. That is going to be started in this race by Dries Vanthoor, qualifying this morning for the drivers that finished yesterday's race. So it's going to be Dries Vanthoor who does the first stint, and that car lines up on the outside of the front row. Pole position to Raffaele Marciello. And let's, as the drivers get themselves sorted, ready to go racing, go to the pole position car, because Raffaele Marciello will start and Timur Bogoslavski is going to do the second stint. Timur is there to talk to Gemma.
Timur, we saw in qualifying Marciello was just getting quicker and quicker, although the conditions were very different to as now.
Yeah, so it was a bit wet, but he was on the slick, so yeah, every lap was coming to drier and drier, so, and yeah, every lap was quicker. But yeah, he take a pole, so it's really good for us. Also, 1 point is also important here in this championship. So we want to keep this position on this race. So, and yeah, if we finish the P2 from yesterday and P1 today, it will be really nice and really good for a championship.
Absolutely, thank you very much. If we just come across this way, Dries Vanthoor is just alongside me. Perhaps, Guy, if you can follow me. If I can get my cameraman to follow me across and have a quick word with Dries Vanthoor. Dries, obviously this morning in qualifying you were pushing very, very hard, tricky conditions. Things are very, very dry now and looking good for you.
Yeah, I mean, this morning wasn't really our ideal qualifying, let's say. I would either prefer either fully wet or fully dry. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm happy with P2. Let's see what we can do. We've got a quick race car, so let's see.
Thank you very much, Dries. Thank you.
That's a good front row, John, isn't it? Raffaele Marciello on pole, Dries Vanthoor alongside. Thoughts for the first corner? It's going to be a good battle between those two.
Very much so, but of course it's a racetrack which is right now we need bone dry. But remember, there are two real catch-you-out corners. One is Schlevlach round the back of the circuit, where a number of cars in previous events here today have found the gravel. The other is the exit of turn 14. That's the banked exit onto the pit straight, where if you get off the low line, it is extremely sandy, and cars, well, I've seen a couple of cars so far this afternoon side-slap the wall, the concrete wall, just at the very end of that bank corner.
Porsche on the grid, just adding to the variety. You've got Mercedes and Audi on the front row, and the Porsche lining up third on the grid. Christian Engelhardt will go first. Sixth on the grid, Maro Engel, his co-driver Luca Stoltz with Jam.
Luca, the Mercedes certainly seemed to be looking very quick this morning in qualifying.
Yeah, Lello was really quick. To be honest, we struggled a little bit this weekend, but nevertheless, P6 is a good starting position, and we showed in the race yesterday that we can gain some positions in the race, so we're definitely going to fight for it and hope for a podium.
Absolutely. Well, Maro, of course, starting the race. He's feeling confident?
Yeah, definitely. I spoke to him a little bit. He's feeling confident, and we don't expect any rain today. And the wind is much less than yesterday, so it should be a great race.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thanks. Cheers.
Zandvoort, as you've heard the driver say, is an old-school circuit, Watty, but it's got these modern features. And you've got to say, having seen more racing over the weekend, that bank turn 3 does add something, doesn't it? It gives you a variety of lines and more possibilities.
Well, it certainly makes it's an unusual. It's almost, in fact, it is a unique circuit now in Europe in terms of having a banked corner there. That the Hugenholz hairpin, which was always semi-banked, has now got into almost a full parabolic banked exit, and you have to be careful on that exit because if you go wide, it will catch you out.
Indeed so. You'll see what we mean when we get to the first lap of the race, that's for sure. Let's go back to the grid. Alexander West will go second. Johnny Adams going to start Aston 188. Alexander with Gemma.
Alex, we saw Johnny had a bit of a moment, I believe it was this morning in qualifying, but the car running well.
The car's running better today than yesterday. We have had some setup issues and it's been a challenging track, but it's a really fun track to drive. It's a proper roller coaster. It's the first time I'm here, so I'm really looking forward to this race. So hopefully we'll do better today than yesterday.
There's a big smile under that mask. We can't quite see it, but I think you really are loving this circuit.
No, it is a really cool track, so I'm really glad we're here. We've been reasonably lucky with the weather, I think, so let's hope it stays dry for the rest of the race.
I think it will. Have a great race. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Alexander West will do the second stint. And looking down onto the grid, we have one car missing. The Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini that won Pro-Am yesterday has had to be withdrawn. Miguel Ramos has had to leave the circuit for personal reasons, and we hope that all is well, but it means that they're a driver short at Barwell, so the car has had to be withdrawn from the race. Big disappointment, but it does throw the way clear for a different winner within Pro-Am. 1 minute to go to the start then. 1 minute to go. The grid is being cleared. Rolling start, pit window, 25 to 35 minutes. But this, with a grid based on the time set in a qualifying session that was damp and drying, it was a thriller of a session, promises to be a really good race because we've got one or two cars out of position. Most notably, last on the grid, John, Christopher Mies. Big surprise.
Well, I mean, unexpected to say the least. I mean, to see Christopher Mies and his co-driver Josef Ovega that far back. Now, we saw in qualifying the car didn't look particularly a handful, but whatever the issues or the problems were, it didn't deliver. And Christopher Mies on the back row of the grid, he can really do one thing when he gets behind the wheel, and he is behind the wheel right now, and that is move forward. But with 26 cars on the grid, it's never easy here at Zandvoort.
It's not. Let's see what they can do in terms of driver ability. Let's see what happens in the pits as the pace cars, it is, sets off. The green flag is waved now to release this field of GT3 cars then for the fourth race within Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS Sprint Cup. The cars making their way now down towards the Tarzan hairpin. Even this is slightly different, John, isn't it? You've got that concrete wall on the inside we'll come to in a second. Let's just quickly rattle through the grid. Raffaele Marciello starts on pole. Dries Vanthoor alongside him on the front of the grid, ahead of Christian Engelhardt and Albert Costa, unlucky to retire yesterday with a puncture. Pierre-Alexandre Jean starts fifth, ahead of Mauro Engel. Jack Aitken, welcome back to Zandvoort, not been here for about 3 or 4 seasons. He's seventh, ahead of Christopher Haase. Then it is Oscar Tuncho, who was quick this morning, and Fred Vervisch lining up 10th for Santalok. David Perel comes next. They had a power steering drama in the Ferrari yesterday. Konstantin Terashenko with a 3-place grid drop for crossing the pit exit white line is 12th, ahead of Jules Gounon and Mathieu Drudy. Next comes yesterday's winning car, only 15th. Alex Fontana starts. Rick Brokers with the patched up Mad Panda Mercedes is 16th, ahead of Johnny Adam and Marcus Winkelhock. 19th is where you find Stefan Richelmy, a Monegasque driver ahead of German Dennis Marshall. That's Bentley alongside Audi. Then the Ferrari in the hands of Chris Froggatt, and the AF Corsa car of the hugely successful Andrea Bertolini lining up alongside heading Pro-Am. Nicolai Hiergaard is next, with Dominic Baumann's Pro-Am Mercedes starting 24th, and the back row is Ryuichiro Tomita, winner here last year outright, and Christopher Mies, who we're going to be watching over the first few corners on his toes. Right, I mentioned turn one, the Tarzan hairpin. John, a few thoughts about that concrete wall on the inside. It gives a different feel to the corner.
And it changes it entirely because you're coming down now. You haven't got the opportunity, as you did previous years, to look across to the apex to see where you might want to be. Now it's all concrete wall, and that continues around till you're about at the apex. Then it goes into the demarcation line, which is the pit lane exit. So it hasn't really in itself caused any problems. In fact, it's probably a better start, because in previous years we often saw at the run into Tarzan on the opening lap, cars getting up the inside, getting on the grass, locking a brake, slamming into somebody else. So that didn't happen yesterday. And watching what we've had on screen here today leading up to the second 1 hour event, it's been reasonably good into Tarzan opening lap.
We might have jinxed it now, let's see, because the formation lap is almost at an end. The cars will get into that Noah's Ark 2x2 formation ready for the rolling start. They don't stop on the grid. The cars accelerate into the race in true sports car history fashion. So the pole position car, the blue and white Mercedes from the ACA ASP team, Jerome Policon squad, driven by Raffaele Marciello. Alongside him then is Dries Vanthoor, the younger of the two racing Vanthoor brothers. Christian Engelhardt back in Porsches, where he made his name initially, but he's got the Lamborghini alongside on row 2. Albert Costa, the third row, the Bentley going so well this weekend. Pierre-Alexandre Jean for CMR lining up alongside Mauro Engel. The fourth row, Jack Aitken, adapting really effectively to GT cars, the Formula 2 race winner of last year, and alongside him is Christopher Haase, the fifth row Oscar Tuncho, and then Fred Vervisch as they come out of the banked Ari Luijendijk curve. It is a 1 hour race. It is the fourth Sprint Cup race of the year, and it is go. Who is going to make the best start then? It's Marciello, the Mercedes, stretching its legs in a straight line, and here comes Engelhardt in the Porsche and Pierre-Alexandre Jean in the Bentley. Engelhardt goes second. Bentley up the inside of the Audi, tries to get through. The Audi is offline at the exit of Tarzan, but has got the inside line for the next corner. Here, look, turn 2. Then the road goes to the Bentley on the inside, but Vantour fends him off. Up the inside goes Albert Costa, now to the banking, but a really good start. Raffaele Marciello leads the way. What about Engelhardt up to second?
Excellent start, getting a little bit loose coming out of the Hogenholz turn, but that was a great battle, particularly Dries van Voor under pressure from the Bentley. Now we go up in between the sand dunes. This is proper motor racing on a proper racetrack.
The Mercedes that was out wide was that of Oscar Cunha, I reckon. He's back on the road, making progress. Yesterday's winning car, Alex Fontana, you're riding with him up towards turn 8. Stand on the brakes, turn into the right-hander now. Yet another Mercedes is up the road. As wide goes Fontana, looking for a clear bit of track space. Can he find a way around on the outside there? No, he can't. Now he goes to the outside at 9. It's Konstantin Terashenko to his left. Terashenko sharing with Jim Pla, and he's just fending off the Lamborghini, but this is a tight battle.
Oh, I mean, there's not a lot of space. Easy to defend into turn 9 and turn 10. Now you've got this run down to the chicane. It's a downhill braking, easy to outbrake yourself. Look, 3 cars wide, trying to find a way in. Oh, the WRT, the Frankfurt, I think it was, or Toramito. Tomito in the yellow and white Audi slipped through 3 wide into that turn. Normally does not work.
Yeah, I think everybody breathed in there, didn't they, as the cars then went into the Hans Ernst Bock, as it's called, at the end of the lap. Right, up towards the completion of lap 1, over the timing line. Raffaele Marciello leads the way, but Christian Engelhardt is going with him. Look at this for third. It's Dries van Voor just ahead of Albert Costa, who tries to get up the inside, coming out of the corner. Jack Aitken round the outside of Pierre-Alexandre Jean, and now under attack. Look from the Mercedes. Maro Engel goes through, does he? Yes, through on the inside line goes Engel. Good pass.
Yes, that was thought out and executed as you would expect from Maro Engel. But listen, it's just absolutely, well, on the second lap, there's nothing given anywhere. Now, again, up the hill. Turn left, flat out, turn right, still flat out. You get to the top, the car gets airy-fairy, and then you get the compression as you go through Shrevlock corner. Easy to get into the gravel on the outside. So far, nobody has done it. Well, we're only on second lap.
This is true. There is a long way to go. Now, Christopher Mies, John, up into 20th place. So he's been on his toes early doors, working his way through the traffic. Trouble is for Christopher, the higher up he gets, the harder work it becomes because he's up with quicker cars.
All he can hope for is that when we come to the round of pit stops, the usual story that the Attempter Racing Audi team get that car in, driver change, tyres change, out as seamlessly as they possibly can. Getting past the further up the field you go, as you pointed out, is very difficult indeed.
And of course in the Sprint Cup, to make the point for the overall class, the pro category cars, their pit stop can be as quick as possible. There's no delta time that it's got to adhere to. It's as fast as you can do it. And there's the pit stop challenge for the mechanics. As there, look, Van Voor goes a place down. Costa round the outside. Look at the Bentley up the inside. All that grunt in a straight line. The Audi almost breathless in comparison. So Albert Costa goes third, darts across to defend. Pierre-Alexandre Jean up into fourth. And Dries van Voor is dropping like a stone.
I think Dries van Voor got mugged, probably on the run into turn 13. That's how Albert Costa got by. And that in turn compromised Dries van Voor on the exit of 14. That allowed the Bentley, with its extra top speed, it's got 266 km/h top speed, quickest of all the brands here this weekend. So 2 passes, Dries van Voor will be livid.
Will he ever? And I think also pretty irate Maro Engel, because he can't find a way past. Van Voor certainly was defensive. He'd lost 2 places. He wasn't about to lose a third without a fight. So Maro Engel has put the car everywhere and still can't find a way by. And bear in mind, they crossed swords yesterday because they had a good fight, but it ended up with Van Voor sideways and off the circuit. There's not much love lost between the two. Look at this freight train, 3rd place and back.
I mean, it's just absolutely bumper to bumper. There is no gap for anybody to find a way to slot in. And of course, Maro Engel, you pointed out the battle that Dries van Voor and the Mercedes had yesterday. Well, it was the other way around. Now it is the Audi leading the Mercedes. One might suggest Maro Engel may not be quite so muscular in any overtaking attempts, whereas Dries van Voor is prepared to get his elbows. He's got extra large elbows. Get them out and make room for the Audi.
Well, right now, Van Voor's trying to attack and defend at the same time, isn't he? He's all over the back of the Bentley of Pierre-Alexandre Jean, but he's also got to defend from Engel, who in turn is being caught now by the Christopher Haase, Audi, next in the queue. Over the timing line they come. We have news that Johnny Adam has had a spin. Is that right? Johnny Adam spinning. It doesn't happen very often. To the inside line there, look, goes Haase against the Lamborghini, and he gets up past Jack Aitken for 8th place. So it's not Haase, forgive me, it's Fred Verviche, in fact, further up the queue. So Fred Verviche goes by, gets up the inside, and the cars then accelerate on now up towards the banked turn 3. So Marciello, Engelhardt, Costa, Jean, Vanthoor, Engel, then Haase, Aitken, Verviche, Gunnar. That's the top 10.
Fred Verviche is the one on the move. He's trying to get that Audi up past him, whereas he is now behind Maro Engel. Maro Engel still caught behind Dries Vanthoor. So the group of cars, basically, it is Jean-Pierre Alexander in the Bentley that's now causing that minute block, letting the leading 3 cars make that break.
Johnny Adams' spin, rare as it is, has been costly. It's put him to the back of the pack. You're riding now then with the TopSport WRT Mercedes. That's Maro Engel. He's got Christopher Haase behind him. So Haase is 7th, Verviche is 9th, and Vanthoor, as the leading Audi, is 5th. Now as the cars drop down through the Hans box, there's the top 3, but look at the line behind. 4th is the Bentley, and 5th is everybody else in a queue.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very tight, this particular part of the racetrack. This is where you want to do all the hard work to get close enough. And that's what Maro Engel is trying to do, get close, get under the rear wing of Dries Vanthoor's Audi. The trouble is the top speed of these 2 cars is very, very similar. Well, Matt, he's going to look down the inside, a late defence from Dries Vanthoor, but the reality was there was no overtake. But watch up the inside, as Jack Aitken, I think, may have lost yet another position.
On the grass, isn't he, coming out of the Tarzan hairpin? So up past him there goes Jules Gunnar. Another place gain for Gunnar. Deep into turn 3, they all turn off the banking. Low, the Ferrari, that was David Perel at the wheel of it. And we've had an incident between Chris Froggatt in 93 and 31, the Audi of Ryuichiro Tomita. That's been looked at by the stewards. They've noted it. See if anything comes of it. Right now, the race leader, Raffaele Marciello, 2.3 seconds to the good. He's done the fastest lap of the race. And Christopher Mies only up into 19th place. As we predicted, life is getting tougher.
Yeah, it'll get more difficult, literally almost by the corner rather than even by the lap. But Raffaele Marciello, with his green hair. Now, I wonder, is this his bow to energy saving?
Go
you
green.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go green. He's not saving any energy whatsoever right now in the lead Mercedes, that is for sure.
A sustainable Raffaele Marciello. So a place trade further back. You just saw the Lamborghini going through Alex Fontana up past Konstantin Tereshchenko. But look now, Dries Vanthoor is getting ever more toey against Pierre-Alexandre Jean, isn't he? He knows that the top 3 is getting away and he's got to go with them. That Bentley moving around a lot, coming through the Kumho box, but he gets it back to the apex for the line dyke curve. The first 10 minutes almost up as the leaders go through, and the lead gap, Marciello to Engelhardt, up to 3.4 seconds right now.
Well, the salvation for the Bentley is that top speed. You can see just how easily it can pull away from Dries Vanthoor. As the 25 Audi and Jules Gunnar and the Mercedes battle as they go into and exit on the Tarzan. So the Mercedes may be capable of lapping quicker in a lap, but obviously can't do very much with Christopher Haase because the opportunities are not existing. Well, there's a hand being raised. Giorgio Roda, what's going on here? And I've got a problem. I have got a problem. Chris Froggatt, the 93 Ferrari, maybe that's a tire cut down. I don't know. It looks as if it's something that's going to see the car, if it makes it back to the pits. Hopefully it will do, or if it stops, gets off the racetrack somewhere safe.
It is a tire.
That's a left rear.
Yeah, quite right. Well done, John. So contact presumably, let's have a look. Turns in, that's Andrea Bertolini on the outside. They touch, Bertolini spins, and that's done for 2 Ferraris effectively, hasn't it?
Yes, it's unfortunate it happened to be a sister brand that there's contact, but side-by-side racing in Tarzan is possible without contact. On this occasion, it did occur. But look, Dries Vanthoor back and as close as he can get to the Bentley, but that proud British brand Bentley has got the horsepower. Another little, so yes, and it's got the horsepower where it matters here in Zandvoort. Look, how close can you get?
Vanthoor's almost
He's just
in
having
the
to be patient.
And where does he challenge? If it's at the hairpin, the move's got to start now. But the Audi looks a little bit breathless in a straight line. Here you go, John. Look at the Bentley. It gathers up its skirts and away it goes.
as if he's got a B12, not a W12, not a V8. Just pulls away so easily. Dries Van Thor powerless to do anything about it. Again, in an overall lap time, no doubt Dries Van Thor, if he got ahead of the Bentley, would pull away. That's drawn Maro Engel once again to the rear of the Audi, something that Dries Van Thor thought maybe had disposed of him. Watch the back of the Audi and the Bentley. Dries Van Thor, his eyes literally focused on the rear bumper of the Bentley, wondering whether it's going to stay in line or is it going to get out of shape, because he needs to react to whatever the car is doing.
And that top speed graphic over the timing line, Bentley's first and second, 265 kmh from Stefan Richelme in 108. Second fastest car, 261 kmh. That one, number 107. So clearly in a straight line, those Bentleys are beasts.
They have got speed now. Dries Van Thor, close as he can get. He's going to think about it. Will I go the long way around? Will I cut back very quickly and drive under the Bentley? Well, he tried to go one way. He's cut back to defend the open gap that he was leaving for Maro Engel to slot into. So he had to both attack on one hand, but make sure he didn't invite Maro Engel to get up alongside on the run down to turn 11. Late on the brakes for the Audi, just gets it slowed down in time. Maro Engel again, and likewise Christopher Haase. And where's Fred Verviest? Freddie Verviest. We want him in this action too.
So the car's coming up towards the end now of lap 7. Raffaele Marciello leads by 3.5 seconds. He's done the fastest lap of the race, and the Mercedes is making life look pretty easy up front. Second and third, the gap is coming down. Engelhardt's being caught by Costa, 0.4 of a second. Fourth is Pierre-Alexandre Jean there, and for fifth it's Van Thor, still under attack from Engel, who pulls to the inside at Tarzan, shows intent, but he can't find a way through there. Seventh is Haase, eighth is Jack Aitken, ninth Gounod, 10th Fred Verviest, and you're back on board with Maro Engel, who is getting ever so bored, staring at the back of the Audi.
Trying to take a slightly different exit out of the Huggenholz to get the run, not follow on the wheel tracks of the Audi, because then your pace is dictated by that of Dries Van Thor. Then into the sand dunes, over the top. All right, there is second place Porsche. Third place Lamborghini, Albert Costa. Absolutely nailing the Lamborghini. Christian Engelhardt, well, Porsche, that's where it ought to have been in the sprint race on Saturday, but because of grid position, it never got the chance to show its performance.
That's right, so there Engel now in the same situation in a sense as Van Thor, attacking and defending at the same time. That's the cork in the bottle, the Bentley. Not as good through the corners, but has the grunt in a straight line. Now the Porsche, the sole Porsche in the race, coming under attack. Remember, that car has had an Endurance Cup win. Porsche won at Monza at the start of the Endurance Cup season. And right now, Christian Engelhardt running second under attack from Costa. Again, here, Van Thor, John, he's on his toes.
Yeah, but he gets to this position almost lap upon lap, but he can't quite drag up behind the Bentley. The Bentley just gets the throttle down, just takes about a car and a bit's length. Now coming through turn 14, the Ari Landak. Now there's the Ferrari, I believe. That's Bertolini's Ferrari. No, it's not the 93. So the left rear was cut down. They've put on a fresh set of rubber. Again, look how much the Bentley pulls, and Maro Engel likewise thinking, if I just give me another 100 yards or 100 metres, sorry, of straight, I might get alongside Dries Van Thor.
Chris Froggatt back into the race, but he's gone a couple of laps down as a consequence of the slow in-lap because of the puncture and then the tyre change itself. As there you see Maro Engel's Mercedes from the TalkSport WRT stable accelerate over the brow. Of course, different team in sprint than he drives for in endurance. So flitting from team to team is Maro Engel, but very much part of the Mercedes fabric. Look at this for second place, though. Engelhardt, who knows a thing or two about Lamborghinis, trying to fend one off now. Bentley fourth, fifth Audi, sixth Mercedes, Audi seventh, Lamborghini eighth, Mercedes ninth, Audi 10th, Engel in this battle pack there.
Yes, and all this is just as a gift horse to Raffaele Marciello, who's now got a 5-second advantage and every opportunity, clear lap upon clear lap. No doubt they'll try to keep Marciello out as long as possible before Timo Boscolowski takes over the car. But back to this battle. Gap slightly bigger this time coming out of turn 10. So Dries Van Thor may be realising it's no point in running so close. This is the time he might be able to run out of the turn 12, and he's closer than ever. But the Bentley occupies all the racetrack that Dries Van Thor wants.
And again, lap after lap, as you say, so frustrating. Look, he could not be closer through the corners, but then the gap widens in a straight line. Marciello has checked out. He's away and gone. Nearly 6 seconds now to the good. Second and third are together. Engelhardt to Costa, 3/10. And then this is the line that takes you all the way back to 10th place with Van Thor desperately trying to find a clear bit of road to make that move against the Bentley. But Pierre-Alexandre Jean is doing what he needs to do. He's defending. He's not doing anything naughty, nothing dirty. He's just defending his line.
He's doing absolutely everything that's required of him, and he's just got the advantage at Zandvoort where it matters. The Dries van Thorp pulls up alongside. Does he get alongside the Bentley? He does. He's made the way through. So an error, I believe, on the exit of Hugenholt. Watch for Mauro Engel. He's going to try and follow through as they come into Schäffler. Gets up the inside. The door's closed by the Bentley. Wow, real great driving all round.
And there, look, up the back, the Jack Aitken Lamborghini made a move against Christopher Hauser. It's not worked, so there's damage on the Lamborghini. Jules Gounon goes through. Fred Verviche gets up on the inside line as well. So Jack Aitken has lost one place. He's lost a bit of bodywork, and he might lose another spot in a moment. But look at Vanthor. He's away and gone. And Engel saying, come on, I've got to get past this Bentley, because the main rival in the race to him, Vanthor, he's been arguing with him in the championship. He's been arguing with him on track. He's getting away. And now it's Engel that's stuck behind the Bentley.
Well, let's see if Mauro Engel approaches this task in a different manner to Dries van Thor. Van Thor was all over the back of the Bentley as they came out of turn 12. Maybe the Mercedes has got a fraction more top speed at the end of the straight than the Audi does. But in a lap time, you can see just how quickly in the space of one lap, how far Van Thor has been able to... He's pulled about 2 seconds in the space of just that one lap.
It's amazing, isn't it? And look at this for second and third places. Engelhard to Costa, 0.2 of a second when they came onto this 11th lap. So fabulous battle between them. There's the lonely Vanthor now, having in, what, half a lap space, just disappeared up the road. Still the Bentley. Pierre-Alexandre Jean fends off Engel. There is Gounon up past Christopher Hauser. So that's another Mercedes coming good. Jules Gounon, bit by bit, working his way forward. Didn't qualify brilliantly. And Jack Aitken's rather dog-eared Lamborghini coming under attack now from Fred Verviche for 9th place, and the Audi can't quite find a way through. Another great battle.
And bits of the bodywork from the Lamborghini popped off as it changed the direction. That you can see the guard on the left-hand side is beginning to disintegrate bit by bit. Whether that'll get the attention or not of those in control of this race. But Fred Verviche is aware. He can see that there will be restrictions on what Jack Aitken can do with the Lamborghini. He will lose maybe a 10th here, a 10th there, simply because the aerodynamics around that left front, and therefore how the air will flow over the rear wing, and on it goes. So for Verviche, an opportunity.
Raffaele Marciello, 6.5 seconds to the good. Vanthor, absolute best sector 1, personal best sector 2. He's got nearly 13 seconds to make up to the race leader, but he's going the right way about it. Vanthor is a man on a mission. Here comes Engel, looks to the inside, thinks better of it, trying to unsettle the Bentley. And is it going to work? Yes, it does! The Bentley goes wide, the door opens, and Mauro Engel pounces, and he needs no second invitation.
And that was a well-executed overtake. The Bentley just didn't have the grip, ran wide. But look what's happened. The Bentley just, another whatever horsepower it's got, just pulls up alongside and drives past the car that had just overtaken him. Mauro Engel is back in a situation where he needs to be very careful. He's going to be challenged. The Bentley just used its squirt, got back ever so comfortably. Thank you very much. I mean, I know we're entertaining you, but that's what happens when you get a balance of performance, certainly in a straight line, that is favouring the Bentley.
Mauro Engel must be doing his nut. It was a brilliant move, but then the Bentley, with all of those horses in a straight line, able to power back ahead. So Engel has got to do it all over again. He's also been caught by Gounon, and Vanthor is getting away up the road. He's already pulled clear by 3.6 seconds, and Engel is getting mighty frustrated.
Maybe part of the reason that Bentley was able to retake that position is because it was higher in the banking, and there would be less side slip, although it is sandy up there. But maybe his exit speed actually off the banking was fractionally higher than that of the Mercedes, on top of which he's got that straight line advantage. And it was such an easy overtake, it was almost as if it happened before our eyes.
Very possibly, very possibly. So Vanthor is the man on the mission at the moment, trying to chip away this deficit to the leaders. Right, here comes Engel, take 2. Is he going to be able to prise the door open once more against Pierre-Alexandre Jean? They're coming into turn 13, as into turn 1 is going the leader. That shows you how far back these cars have dropped now.
Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, Raffaele Marciello, was it 9 seconds in reality ahead of second place. This is all about the race, what we're seeing right now. The Bentley, the Mercedes, the Audi, the Lamborghini. what's happening at the front of the race is almost a different day's motor racing.
A little bit like yesterday in a sense. There's yesterday's winning car that has just gone round the outside of David Perel for 10th place, and into the pits has come 26th, Fred Verviche. Now that's too early for it to be the regulation pit stop, so back into the race goes the Audi, suggesting it might have had a tyre issue as well, possibly in the heat of battle. There might have been some contact. There's Vanthoor, who is on his own looking for playmates again.
Well, that's going to elevate Vanthoor up into 3rd place, so he will be the beneficiary of, I beg your pardon, 4th place. So on board now as Dries Vanthoor, the gap 2nd to 3rd, 3rd to 4th, 3rd to 4th is 3 seconds, 2nd to 3rd to 2nd is just 1 second.
So Fred Verviche, as far as we can tell, it's just a new front right, suggesting that maybe it had either been cut or he felt a vibration through it. So Fred Verviche pitting, puts the new tyre on the car. That is the Audi that he shares with Aurélien Panis, and of course drops away from what was 10th place, as there is the battle going on between Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Mauro Engel. 'Twas ever thus. Jules Gounon is right there behind them, 5th, 6th, 7th. Hauser is 8th there in the background in the Audi. 9th, despite the damage, is Jack Aitken. And yesterday's winning car is into the top 10 finally. Alex Fontana at the wheel of it. The race lead gap, 9.7 seconds. As again, there's just nothing Engel can do about that Bentley.
No, I mean, it's been the strength of the car, of the both Bentleys, all weekend back to race leader. So that almost 10-second advantage that Raffaele Marcello has built up, just virtually unnoticed other than watching and timing and scoring, and it's just been the perfect drive so far for the 88 Mercedes. As further through the field, Mauro Engel struggling, and likewise Jules Gounon, who's made his way up through the field to tag along behind Mauro Engel, being dictated simply by what Bentley can do in a straight line.
So Engel just dropped back a little bit on this lap, so getting some cool air, clean air through the front of the car maybe. He spent so many laps right up behind the Bentley, and up front Raffaele Marciello lapping last time 8/10 quicker than Christian Engelhardt, who is still fairly busy keeping Albert Costa at bay. But interestingly, the gap 2nd to 3rd has widened. It was a couple of tenths, it's now back up to over a second once more, as you see 107 Pierre-Alexandre Jean go through, and he and Ulysse de Pauw have done a really impressive job this weekend in this race thus far, and all the way through yesterday's race. Zandvoort and Bentley seem to be a good mix.
Well, whatever the characteristics are of Bentley, they have certainly shone here on the one part of the racetrack where it is all important. And we're about to come on to that shortly after going through turn 13, and then the banked 14, the exit of the Array-Lion banked corner, and from there all the way down to Tarzan, the Bentley's untouchable.
On the screen you can see Dominic Baumann, and the graphic showing you it's Baumann, Adam, Bertolini, the top 3 in Pro-Am. Now Dominic Baumann lapped a 10th quicker than Johnny Adam last time, so he's still got the gap in hand. Remember, Johnny Adam is fighting back after his spin early on, but Alexander West versus Valentin Pierberg in the second stint's going to be quite interesting. The gap's not exactly a big one, is it, there between Dominic Baumann and Johnny Adam as we stand. The pair of them up behind the second of the Bentleys, 108 of Stéphane Richelmy, that oddly hasn't come alive in the same way that 107 has done in this race. As there, Jules Gounon goes through, up now into 5th place, because he's got himself up past Mauro Engel, and so also has Christopher Hauser got himself up past Mauro Engel. So the Mercedes there, you can see the white Talksport WRT car, 2 places lost from Mauro Engel.
Didn't see why. Maybe we're going to replay of where it happened for Mauro Engel, whether it was something that he did or whether he was given a little assist. But to lose positions when you've been battling as hard as Mauro Engel has been doing will be very disappointing indeed for him, as it will be for the Talksport Mercedes-Benz team.
Here's your answer.
Ah, he got onto the Bentley. Look at that. That's what happened. Turn 13. That's on the Bentley, the oversteer in the back of the Bentley. Mauro Engel also had to get under the throttle, and that opened up the opportunity for those behind. He lost all his momentum on the exit of 13 because the car is slipping and sliding in the sand. There goes Jules Gounon. He had seen what had happened, was prepared for it, was able to make an adjustment. Mauro Engel tries to come back, but Gounon closes off any opportunity he could go down the inside. And now, well, he's come back against, but no room to do anything about it. And he's opened the door and he's made a mistake. Speechless. I'm speechless. Mauro, what have you done?
Well, he had a spin yesterday. He's in the gravel today, and the race has just completely unravelled for him. So Maro Engel off through the gravel. He's going to rejoin there behind Johnny Adam, isn't he? So that's going to put him back into about 21st place, and it's a furious Maro Engel back on track.
Like to see that again, because he was running directly behind the Mercedes there of Gugno. I don't know whether he outbraked himself or whatever, maybe the effect of going wide.
Now, I just wonder whether he's picked up any tyre damage in that skirmish from earlier on where he had to avoid the Bentley, because there was a little bit of a rub between them. And is that car low? It is. Look, let the right rear's down, isn't it?
It certainly is flat as a pancake. So that undoubtedly was a significant contribution to Maro Engel not being able to slow the Mercedes down into Tarzan and overrunning, going into the gravel bed, and then eventually coming back on track. So whether that was a contact with Gugno or whether it was the contact with the Bentley a little bit earlier, one would suspect was with the Bentley, because it is the rear, left rear of the car that is run down, cut down.
So that's very bad news, not only in the race, but early days in the championship. And with the pit window open, in comes Albert Costa. He wasn't really getting anywhere as far as Christian Engelhardt in second place was concerned. So in he comes, and 163 now is going to be handed over to Norbert Siedler, who lost out badly at the start of yesterday's race. But this car is just about in the mix still. Christopher Haase comes in early, which is a little bit surprising, in number 25 to hand over to Leo Roussel. And also in is Matteo Drudi, Roichiro Tomita, Nikolai Sjægaard and Stefan Richelme.
I'm surprised that some of the front runners are coming in, but the man who's leading this race is going to stay out until probably the last opportunity. Then hand over to Thomas Boguslawski as Dominic Baumann thunders through the Hugenholz hairpin bend up the hill, and much steeper. You ran this last night, David. You know how steep that incline is out of Hugenholz.
It is very steep indeed, and the banking at the Lyndike curve, virtually impossible to run up. Even on a low line, it still hurts because you're on such an angle. This is the Pro-Am leader, Dominic Baumann, but this battle is going to be a really good one, isn't it? Because Johnny Adam is almost with him, and we're not far off putting different drivers into these cars to see what pans out in the second stint. Johnny Adam recovering well from that spin.
We never found out what caused the spin or why did that Aston. Johnny Adam, as you point out, rarely makes an error, but this time something beyond his control possibly, and he's now running directly behind his principal competitor.
Now, just looking at pit stops, we've had a good stop from Frank Bird taking over number 31, 51.3 seconds, 52 to put Leo Roussel in number 25 Audi, but 58 seconds from Attempto to get Matteo Drudi into number 99, a really slow stop. 53.7 for Albert Costa, and Maro Engel has stopped out on the circuit. The incident between him and Pierre-Alexandre Jean in the Bentley at Lyndike Curve is being looked at, but I don't think there was very much to look at other than a Bentley getting it wrong ahead of him. That's yesterday's winning car in the pits, and Alex Fontana giving way now to the Swiss driver Ricardo Feller.
The ACA ASP Mercedes team are not looking at them right now. This is the Lamborghini, of course. But now the gap up to 12.5 seconds between Raffaele Marcello and Engelhardt in the Porsche in second place. All to the benefit of Timo Boguslawski when he gets behind the wheel of that 88 Mercedes. That's what a teammate does. Just gives you all the benefits, all the advantages. As we watch now to see a little bit further down the field as the recovering Bentley just caught out, ran wide, and there was no deliberation between the Mercedes and the Bentley when they made contact. Just one of those things, both drivers wrong place, wrong time.
So we're almost at the halfway point. It's been a lively first half to the race. Norbert Siedler has taken over 163 Lamborghini from Albert Costa and has done the fastest first sector of anybody in the race so far, and there is a hugely frustrated Maro Engel. Helmet off, mask on, overalls down, car parked, day done.
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration and, well, maybe say disappointment, but a certain level of frustration because battling as he had been with the Bentley for such a long time, we saw Dries van Voor finally get through, and I think Maro Engel felt, here's my opportunity, but he was caught out with the very sudden snap rear of the Bentley, and he had to balance it. He then got into not a particularly good angle, and that is where the contact, we believe, did take place. It's a racing incident. There's no suggestion that there was anything more than that.
So there's Seidler. He's flying. He's a little bit down in the middle sector, but as I say, absolute best in the first. They go on to a new set of tyres in that pit stop. That's all they do, change driver, of course. Oh, whoops, drama here. 108 Bentley going the wrong way. And Nelson Panciatici, I think, has taken the 87 car with him, the Jim Pla Konstantin Terashenko entry. They were 22nd and 23rd on an outlap, pretty much. So Jim Pla has gone around. They both rejoin, and the leader gets past. So the fastest lap of the race, just done by Norbert Seidler. And Raffaele Marciello is 13 seconds clear. The only thing that's going to cost them a win, seemingly, is a safety car right now, because this car is looking majestic.
It's just driving its own race, using the bits of the racetrack which he chooses to use. Everything right now. So let's look and see what happened into turn 10. And he caught up. It was his inside left wheel caught the grass on the inside, which swung the tail of the Mercedes around. Well, it was actually the nose that nosed him around in the end. But Jim Pla caught the grass on the inside going into turn 10, which allowed the Mercedes to start to rotate.
Now we're getting driving standards flags for Fred Vervisch, which should now be Aurelian Panis at the wheel, to discuss track limits. That's the leader, Raffaele Marciello, staying out. And 25 to 35 minutes is the pit window.
Contact 108 and 87 under investigation. Contact 108 and 87 under investigation.
So that incident we've just seen is going to be looked at. We've got about 3.5 minutes for the pit window to remain open. So Marciello here running it fine, maximising the time behind the wheel. Norbert Seidler has done 2 fastest laps of the race in quick succession, as Jules Gounon now gives way in 89 to Petru Umberescu, the Romanian driver.
So do you believe this will be the in-lap, or will Marciello stay out for one more lap? I think if I was in the team, I would keep him out for the longest possible period, but it's up to the team, because it is important as to the point where not you come in, but where will you feed back in. So we will know very shortly as Mercedes comes round and is staying out. Got that one right again, didn't I?
So one more lap for Raffaele Marciello, but that's all he can do now. So that car's yet to come in. Engelhardt, Vanthoor, second and third, they've yet to pit as well. It's going to be really interesting, though, to see the relative pace of Timo Boguslavski against the opposition around him and how much of that monster lead is going to be saved. Now, in terms of Pro-Am, number 20, Dominic Baumann, still leads, still yet to pit. Johnny Adam almost there within striking distance and still in second. And we've got a new fastest lap of the race, Riccardo Feller, yesterday's winner, on new tyres, of course. Now 1:35.3 is the fastest lap of the race. And this is Vanthoor giving way to Charles Weert.
Very important pit stop for the WRT Audi team to get the car in service. Charles Weert, slightly taller than Dries Vanthoor, so have to make an adjustment in the seating. Normally an insert is used by the shorter driver's car. And wow, lights it up. Absolutely. Certainly getting a bit of heat into those rear tyres as it makes its way down the pit lane. And of course sets to do it at 50 kilometers per hour. The 2 Lamborghinis, the 2 Emile Frey Lamborghinis, you pointed this out, David, have been over the last 3 laps, consistently the quickest cars, because they're posting purple sectors between those 2 cars. They're battling over who is the quickest car on the racetrack.
Absolutely right. Riccardo Feller and Norbert Seidler are the drivers at the wheel. Jack Aitken has just been replaced in the 3rd car by Konsta Lapalainen. And Marciello's got to be in this time because there isn't a lap time left before the window closes. So in comes the race leader and the ACA ASP team there with the new boots for 88, all marked up, ready, good to go to work. Where is the 2nd placed car now? The Porsche of Christian Engelhardt, that should be in as well. There it is in the background. Into the pits come the top 2.
Always a very nervy moment when your co-driver has done such a great job as Marciello has done. You've got a 15-second advantage over the 2nd place Porsche there, now in for its pit stop. It's up to the team to make sure that the pit stop, the tyres, all done. It's a sort of almost like a metronomic ballet the way they go through this process.
So the Mercedes gets away. This is 5th and 6th currently, which is the Ferrari hanging on to its position. So there is Timo Boguslavski down the pit road. In the background, Adrian Delina in the Porsche gets away now, and we'll see what that stop was from the Mercedes, it was good, 48.9 seconds. And what's it going to be for the Dynamic Motorsport Porsche? If it's quicker, they'll have saved some time and brought down the gap. It's the time from pit in to pit out. He'll get to the line, and is it going to be any quicker? It's not. It's a slower stop for the Porsche. So 48.9 place 50.3, and that means the Porsche falls behind Dries Vanthoor. So the Audi goes ahead on the pit stops.
Well, Charles Vert's behind the wheel of the 32 as it climbs out of the Hugenholz, and it'll be interesting to see what can be done there as the Audi and the Porsche, now Adrian Delaney behind the wheel of the 54 Dynamic Motorsport. One would have to say a circuit that probably Dries Vanthoor is more familiar with, simply because as a young kid racing in the Benelux countries, he would be very, very familiar indeed with Zandvoort.
Yes, forgive me, Scholwitz, you're right, taking over from Dries Vanthoor, but Timo Boguslavski then still holds sway. There's the Pro-Am battle carrying on. Valentin Pierberg ahead of Alexander West. So they were together, those cars on track, together in the pits. They've rejoined in the same formation, and now it's these second drivers in this second stint that have got to do the hard yards for the remaining 24 minutes. As through the traffic there goes Aurelien Panis up the inside line, working his way to put a lap on Alexander West.
Well, the gap between lead and second place cars, both of whom just completed those very late pit stops, is now up to 16 seconds. So that will give Timo Boguslavski.
Car 32 under investigation for speeding in the pit lane.
Now 32 is the WRT Weerts Vanthoor Audi being investigated for speeding in the pit lane. So there could be another story brewing here, John.
Well, I don't know whether it was Dries Vanthoor coming into the pit lane or whether it was Charles Vert who lit up the rear tyres of the Audi as he made his way out. Whatever it is, it's not the news that either that two drivers or WRT would want to hear. If they do get a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, that will be massive disappointment. The only people that might feel slightly relieved will be, of course, the number 6 TalkSport Mercedes-Benz Lucas Stoltz and Maro Engel, who are now out of this race.
Now, on the pit stops, the real winner is Norbert Siedler, because 163, which was in third place and falling back, is now second and only 11 seconds behind Timo Boguslavski. And we'll see next time what their lap times are like. But remember, Siedler is further into a stint. He's got a bit more track knowledge, a little bit more car knowledge over Boguslavski. But with 23 minutes, give or take, still to go, that's the leading car, admittedly. But behind, Norbert Siedler, quicker in Sector 1 on this lap. They're coming up to the end of Sector 2. He's 4/10 quicker in the second sector. So Siedler is catching, but has he got enough time left in which to catch and maybe even pass the leading Mercedes?
That's going to be a difficult task, bearing in mind that the Lamborghini did start on the second row of the grid. It's now probably where it ought to have been had this race when this race got underway, some 40-odd minutes ago. I can't believe it. There's nobody on the main straight. Oh, there we are. Finally, a car appears. That is the Lamborghini, followed by Charles Verts in the third place Audi.
So 11.1 seconds is the margin, and that is with, just under 22 minutes to go.
It's kind of settled down.
Ooh.
The excitement, it's almost as if all the excitement peaked too early. Well, there's the Bentley showing why it's getting places back, just simply pulls out, overtakes the 26 Audi, no problem whatsoever.
Absolutely, just inexorable progress in a straight line. So that puts now
Last
Elise de Pauw ahead of Leo Roussel.
25 for track limits. Next step will be the giant shoot.
And 25 is that Audi, Leo Roussel. There, you've just heard Alain Adon, the race director, say he's had his last warning, or that car's had its last warning for track limits. Next time it's a drive-through, so he's got to stay within
I don't know whether
line.
I don't know whether Roussel has been responsible or Fred Verviche, but whatever it is the car. There may have been one transgression on the part of Roussel, but there may have been a few more by co-driver Frederic Verviche. But you've been given your last warning, and if you transgress track limits, particularly at turn 3 or just coming out of turn 7 likewise, those are the areas where people are getting pinged.
Exactly so. I do seem to remember that the car was being warned in the first stint. So yes, Christopher Hauser, I think, was transgressing as well. But it's a cumulative thing, isn't it? And is that the leader slow? That is Timo Boguslavski. But that didn't look the quickest of cars. He's got a puncture, hasn't he?
He's got a problem. The car is going slowly. That most likely is a puncture, but trying to see which wheel it would be. Maybe it is the right rear. Whatever it is right rear, right front, can't see, but whatever it is, the dynamic of this race has changed dramatically. I was going to say Dynamic Motorsport are the winners from it, but they're currently down in third place.
So Norbert Siedler is into the lead for Emil Frey Racing, winners with a different car yesterday, but it's Siedler up front. Charles Wirtz is second, 2 seconds between them, and last time Wirtz was quicker. So with the dramas for ACA ASP as the car limps to the pit lane, we've got a real motor race on our hands right now, because after a monster lead from that car that crawls down the pit lane, it's all bets off. Much smaller gaps lower down. Boguslavski limps into the pit lane in 17th place. What has happened?
One can only assume that he's picked up something on the racetrack. If there is any bodywork around and it catches your tire, there's no question it's going to get cut down. So that's a huge, huge disappointment to ACA ASP. So, well, actually they're looking inside the car, so it maybe is not. What can be the problem? Could
it be a battery?
Well, it could be something electronic, whether it's a reset on the onboard computer. Whatever the problem is, he came back almost in what you might describe as limp home mode.
Well, the car's in the pit lane. It has fired up, but the car's not been released yet. The team's still looking very concerned. It gets away now, so into the race again goes Boguslavski, but that's going to cost him a lap. So that car, having dominated stint 1, is now a lap down as Norbert Siedler leads the way. But look who's behind him, 1.7 seconds back, Charles Wirtz. It's game on.
18 minutes or 18 and a half minutes remaining. There is the onboard shot from Charles Wirtz. You can see the amount of smearing on the windscreen from being close to other race cars. A lot of that's just whatever the wildlife around the circuit may have been, and of course a little bit of rubber smearing also.
So 2 seconds becomes 1.7, 18 minutes to go. Third is Dynamic Motorsports Porsche of Adrian Delina, but fourth, Ricardo Feller, yesterday's winner, lapping quicker than the 911 up the road ahead of him. There, 114 is sixth, that's Konsta Lapalainen. It might be fifth now, in fact, because he's just got himself past Umbrescu, hasn't he? Yes, so Lapalainen is up to fifth, and it's first, third, fifth for the Emil Frey cars. Now, I question whether it might have been a battery issue for the Mercedes. It was the alternator that depowered, is the word we get from the pit lane. So big, big problem for ASP and the Mercedes, John.
Yes, I mean, fundamentally, the way the batteries in a race car, modern race car work is there's enough energy there because the power is being generated by the alternator. If the alternator stops providing the power, then there's not enough reserve in the battery to enable the car, as you would have done in the good old days. So it is, if the alternator goes down or is malfunctioning, then very quickly you get the consequence, and that's why the pit stop was taken. But 32 still under observation for speed limit infringement. We haven't seen any conclusion to that particular judgment.
Now the data will come to race control. It'll be passed to the stewards, but right now Charles Wirtz can do only what he can do, press on, and he is pressing on, and he is getting closer. 2 seconds became 1.7, has become a second and a half. Ricardo Feller, who is running in fourth, is still catching the third place car of Adrian Delina, and it looks as though ACA ASP is getting ready to receive 88 back in, because Timur Boguslavski, although he's gone out, I think has, yes, come back into the pit lane, and that's pretty much, I fear, game over.
Yeah, the car's going to be pushed back into the garage. Whatever the problem is, they haven't been able to resolve it, and the only way they can work on it, and there's not much point, 16 minutes remaining, so push it back in the garage. A very sad retirement from a car that was totally dominant in the first phase of this race. Boguslavski was doing an excellent job, and through no fault of his own, the car is now being retired.
So a depowered alternator for 88. You've got a feel for Raffaele Marciello, haven't you? I mean, he utterly dominated his section of the race, and not his co-driver's fault either, but they come away with nothing. And he's not had a Sprint Cup win yet, he's not had an Endurance Cup win yet this year. The two endurance races have both gone to Porsche, a good spread of winners in the Sprint Cup, and we could have another different winner here. Norbert Siedler leads the way, but Charles Wirtz, who with Dries Van Thor was the Sprint Cup champion last year, is pounding along behind him.
Just watching him come through turn 13, 14, very quick hands behind the wheel of the Audi, then gets onto the straight. He's able to relax, adjust the visor, which is normally In an enclosed car, you keep the visor open anyway, but it can begin to slightly fall down.
So as the cars go through turn 3, and you can see who the brave ones are up the banking there, we have been talking about the demise of 88. Timur Boguslavski is with Gemma.
Timur, what happened?
Battery just died, so I was not have ABS, DC, and street wheel was not working, so we need to retire because of that.
Thank you very much. Very disappointing after such a great stint from Raffaele.
Yeah, we lost a lot of points. It's really bad, but yeah, it's motorsport, so we can fight later.
Last year's overall champion, taking sprint and endurance combined, was Timur Boguslavski, but this is a very different season, a little bit like Andrea Caldarelli. If you think back 2 years ago, having won every title there was going, had a really tough following season. It's happening for Boguslavski, but yeah, a dead battery, and that explains the story, John, doesn't it?
One might say modern electronics, brilliant as they are, can be a bane in a racing car.
Now the Porsche has come in. Adrian Delina has come into the pit lane, not a scheduled stop either. So having been running at the front, the Engelhardt Delina 911, I'm afraid, in strife. At the Kumho box, Benji Heites is the bravest at 135 kilometres an hour. The lead gap is going up again now, 2 seconds. And there you can see the Porsche in the pits, and that's got problems as well.
Don't know what to say. The lead and the Porsche, of course, the engine's in the back, not in the front, as we all are aware. So that looks like it's a car that's going to be retired as well.
Drive-through penalty to car 87 for causing a collision. Drive-through penalty to car 87, causing a collision.
87 is Jim Pla for that incident we saw with the 108 Bentley. So Jim Pla gets a drive-through for the collision, but that effectively is the dynamic Porsche not being dynamic out of the race, isn't it?
Yes, it's a shame. 2 of the lead cars all of a sudden find themselves in the pit lane. We don't know what the Porsche problem is, but certainly lifting the hood to work on either hydraulics, which would be the brake pedal, all that kind of gear at the front of the car, or if there's any electronic items in the front trunk, that would be where they'd be working on it. Certainly looks like the car isn't going any further this afternoon.
So no sooner had you said, Watty, that it had calmed down a bit than it all kicks off. Not necessarily with battles on track, but with drama through mechanical maladies and people having to pit. So the order is shuffled again. Seidler leads Wirtz, leads Feller. Lapalainen is 4th and Bereshko is 5th. De Pauw, Roussel, Bird, Heites, Compank is the top 10. There's 25, Leo Roussel in 7th place.
Just looking down, timing and scoring to see the gap first to second is just 2 seconds. More importantly, it's 11 seconds between second and third place, so Riccardo Feller doing a great stint, but unlikely to make any inroads into Charles Fert. But still an opportunity for the 32 Audi. Well, just 12 minutes to go. All you need is to get traffic, or one little error on the part of the lead Lamborghini, and that 32 Audi will be immediately there.
Well, for a circuit at which people say you can't overtake, we've had a really spectacular race. And look at this, to the outside line goes the Bentley. Ulysse de Pauw right round the outside of Petru and Bereshko, down to the Tarzan hairpin. All of that grunt, but a brave effort round the outside. He deserved that pass, didn't he?
Yes, I mean, it's made so much more easy by the fact that you've got that performance in a straight line available to you. And, of course, those that are being overtaken, then they're powerless. They're literally powerless metaphorically as well as mechanically.
So 11 minutes and change on the clock. The hour has flown by, hasn't it, as the cars crest the rise. They're going through is 89 Petru and Bereshko, the Romanian driver falling back a little bit as using all of the road through Skyflach. There goes the 107 Ulysse de Pauw Bentley, new to GT cars this year. Leo Roussel there, running in the car that was started by Christopher Hauser in 7th spot. The race currently on lap 30. Riccardo Feller last time around did lap fractionally quicker than Charles Wirtz ahead of him, but Wirtz dropping away now from Norbert Seidler for the race lead.
So that gap is just on the 2 seconds. Feller a further 10 seconds behind, but as you mentioned, just closing fractionally, but 10 minutes to go. All you need is for those lead cars to catch up to this group of cars. Benjamin Heites and the Ferrari running currently in 9th position.
So The last sixth of the race about to get underway as Norbert Siedler leads by 2.1 seconds from Charles Wirtz. Ricardo Feller, who has had a really good season thus far, never mind with the race win, but consistently good results. He's third. Konsta Lapalainen is fourth. Now Lapalainen to De Pauw, 9/10. The Bentley ought to be on for another place. Leo Russell is about to be monstered by Frank Bird. So Sansalot versus WRT, and Benjamin Haiti's there, right with him in the Ferrari. Up wide goes Leo Russell.
Penalty to car 30 and car 32 for speeding in the pit lane. Drive-through penalty, car 30 and car 32 for speeding in the pit lane.
The second place car gets a drive-through penalty. Charles Wirtz then a drive-through. This could be an Emil Frey Racing 1, 2, 3 because they're first, third and fourth. Take the Audi out of the mix, job done. So Charles Wirtz, here he is. He's going to have to serve a drive-through.
Well, I don't know who it was who committed the sin of speeding in the pit lane. It doesn't matter because it's the team that suffers as a consequence. So that drive by Dries van Thor, who was outstanding in his opening stint. Charles Wirtz, likewise, great effort indeed. Drive-through penalty if they get into the top 15 by the time the checkered flag comes out. Well, that will be about the height of it. What a shame.
And this battle, Leo Russell versus Frank Bird, is not done yet. Same type of car, rival teams, and Frank Bird brave on the inside, goes through, and so look, also does Benji Haiti's. The Ferrari pounces. Here comes Compank in the Mercedes. So Leo Russell ran out, and he's lost 3 places coming out of 1 corner. The Ferrari, Benji Haiti's at the wheel, is doing a brilliant job now.
Very good job indeed. He was watching what the two Audis were doing, adjusted accordingly. Now he's under attack himself, but he made the pass, and that was the important thing to get through. But what will happen down the straight? Is the Ferrari capable of holding back the Ezequiel Perez compact side by side? Will they avoid contact just about? And you've got to give the Mercedes a little bit of working room. Maybe there was fractionally a little less than would have been ideal for the Mercedes. Now Russell trying to come back again, having opened up that opportunity, looking to go the long way around the Mercedes over the top of the crest of the hill.
25 and car 6 under investigation.
So 25 and 6, Leo Russell and Mauro Engel, which might explain some of Mauro's strife from earlier on in the race. Leo Russell then under attack from Ezequiel Perez Compank. Silver Cup at the moment, being headed by Ricardo Feller, and Pro-Am still Valentin Pierberg ahead of Alexander West, and actually the gap has really grown between the two of them. Alexander West falling a long way back now. He's lost about 7 seconds as Compank dives to the inside. That was a good move.
There was no prisoner taken at all. I could see Ezequiel Perez Compact he just literally dived down the inside. Russell may or may not have seen him coming, but he certainly allowed space for the Mercedes to make that overtake maneuver. No contact, and therefore now can the Audi have any way of returning the pleasure of getting past the Mercedes. But 7 minutes remaining in this race. It's been non-stop.
It's been a great race, this, hasn't it? So the leading 3 goes through. This is 4th. Over the line comes Konsta Lapalainen, just ahead of Elise De Pauw. Charles Wirtz has not yet taken that drive-through, incidentally. Number 30, the other car given a pit lane speeding drive-through, is the Marcus Winkelhock, now Benji Goethe, WRT Audi. So that's going to serve it as well in the remaining 6 3/4 minutes. If you don't, you get a time penalty added on at the end. As off the banking, there goes the Bentley 107. Elise De Pauw has been, for my money, one of the stars of the weekend.
Well, he's got an opportunity now to get one more position up to 4th place, because he's closing on the back of the Lamborghini all through this lap. And when they get back out of turn 14 onto the straight, it ought to be a slam dunk for the Bentley to find a way around the Lamborghini, go from 5th up to 4th, and with 6 minutes remaining, he'll take that any day.
Absolutely right. So the Bentley, with CMR having been in the championship last year, learning both in endurance and sprint cup terms, and had lots of bad luck at Manicourt. Remember, one car burnt out. They had to get another one from the UK overnight, which somehow they did. Heaven knows how. But CMR has come back this year with all the lessons learned. Competitive drivers and looking very strong, particularly this 107 entry. And 114, Konsta Lapalainen, brother of Jonas Lapalainen, himself a racer in one-make events. He taking over from Jack Aitken. Is doing a good job hanging on to 4th, but they're both being caught by Petru Ambarescu as Charles Wirtz serves the drive-through penalty, and let's see where that drops him to.
Lapalainen is able to do enough around the back of the circuit to pull a gap on the Bentley. So whether the Bentley's got enough straight line speed to make up that differential, probably marginally not. The Charles Vance makes sure he leaves the pit lane and doesn't exceed, and the Bentley did not find a way past Lapalainen for that 4th place.
And that's only cost Weerts then 1 place, so it's a Emil Frey 1-2-4 at the moment, unless Lapalainen can dig deep and go after Charles Weerts with 5 minutes remaining. So 1 place lost by Charles Weerts, that's all, but it's costly. It's taken him from 2nd to 3rd.
Well, that's the result, to lose only 1 place with a drive-through penalty. But whether Lapalainen will focus on the Audi ahead or will be concentrating on the Bentley behind, I suspect it's the Bentley behind. That's going to be the biggest concern as race leader Norbert Siedler, and his advantage is just over 5 seconds from what would have been Charles first, but is now Ricardo Feller.
So the drive-through penalty is done by the 2 WRT Audis, and it is Norbert Siedler leading the way from this car. So a winner yesterday, 2nd potentially today, and the margin between them is about 12 seconds. But then again, number 14 was mired in traffic for much of the early part of the race. But the Emil Frey Lamborghinis just have been so impressive all weekend. Doesn't matter really which car, they've all had good pace. They've all been there or thereabouts. And so Norbert Siedler leads Ricardo Feller 12.1 seconds, 4 minutes to go. It's going to be a 1-2-4 seemingly for Emil Frey Racing, unless the Bentley can get past Lapalainen for that 4th place.
Well, victory yesterday, victory today, almost assured. 3 minutes and a bit remaining. What a day for the Swiss-based Lamborghini team. They've just, sometimes you feel that they sail slightly below the radar, but when it comes to the race, and they've done an outstanding job yesterday, they're doing an equally outstanding job to get what will be 1st and 2nd overall, and then the 1st and 3rd, 4th place, Lapalainen. So it's a silver in 2nd, and the pro cars 1st and 4th.
So right now, Konsta Lapalainen hangs on to the position. Ricardo Feller 2nd, looking for a Silver Cup win like yesterday. Elise de Pauw there in the Bentley 2nd of the Silvers, and Frank Bird for the podium potentially 3rd Silver Cup entry right now. But Elise de Pauw is leaving nothing on the table, and there are bits of what I think might be a marker board all over the road. So somebody's running out too wide at Skyflachen, taking the marker board, the corner marcation board with them. Look at this now, Umberescu on the back of the Bentley.
Yes, Umberescu's been closing. The problem he will have is the same as everybody else has had when they get behind a Bentley. What they do on this part of the racetrack, look, lights flashing, trying to cause distraction, but when they get back out of turn 14 on the straight, Bentley stretches his legs, loses to the Lamborghini in the infield section, or sector 2 into sector 3. But when it gets back onto the straight, it will pull away from the Mercedes relatively easily, but not sufficient to catch to the tail of the 4th place Lamborghini.
So 2 minutes and change on the clock. So the race leader is going to get 1 more lap at the end of the one that he's on now, and still, to no one's great surprise, the fastest cars past the pits are those Bentleys, 265, 263 kilometres an hour, and much as the graphic confirms that, I think there'll be a lot of drivers in this race, John, that will say, that Bentley's quick in a straight line, you know?
Well, I think there might be a few team principals saying, that's a big advantage the Bentley's got in a straight line. Maybe a slightly smaller air restrictor. Oh, no, I didn't say that.
Well, the next stop for the Sprint Cup is Misano in 2 weeks' time, and of course for the Endurance Cup, Spa. Very different sort of a circuit. But look at Elise de Pauw here. He is absolutely on the ragged edge, isn't he? He's throwing everything at this penultimate lap of the race. Konsta Lapalainen just up the road ahead of him. Petru Umberescu's Mercedes behind, but de Pauw is determined to find a way by.
Yeah, he's done a good job on this one. It's going to be the penultimate lap of the race, seemingly a little bit closer in the mid part of the circuit now, coming up the exit of turn 11, the run down to turn 12. The Lamborghini is just again able to eke out another few more meters on the run down, which really is the frustration that Bentley is losing out in this part of the racetrack, offsetting the gains that they make when they get onto the straight.
So right now, Petru Umberescu in the car in 6th, started by Jules Gounon. It's another from the ACA ASP stable, but that's the leader. 163, Norbert Siedler. The car was 4th on the grid. Albert Costa did a good first stint as anticipated, but they pitted early and Siedler was able to really storm through as the other pit stops cycled through. It's been a great drive, and what a weekend for Emil Frey. Both races heading to admittedly different cars from their stable, but brilliant weekend all round.
I mean, would you have taken it 2 wins in 2 days? Absolutely right, you'd have taken it. Yeah. And bearing in mind that the weather here at the beginning of the weekend was dire, we've had a perfect weather here this afternoon. Great racing, frenetic racing all the way through the field.
And it's not done yet, because this determines whether we get Emil Frey Racing 1, 2, 4 or 1, 2 and 5. Konsta Lappalainen versus Ulysse de Pauw, who is so close. This is the leader, though. 2 corners to go for Norbert Siedler, who accelerates now up towards the Kumho box. Ahead of him is Alexander West, who's not going to be able to win Pro-Am. The Aston just not having the pace of Valentin Pierberg, and he's going to possibly squeeze one more lap out of the race. But there is the Lamborghini, checkered flag at the ready. Albert Costa, Norbert Siedler, win at Zandvoort. Over the timing line goes the Lamborghini Delight in the Emil Frey Racing garage. So Norbert Siedler and Albert Costa take the win. Second to Ricardo Feller there, with Alex Fontana having done the start stint. Winners yesterday, second today, having started way back on the 8th row of the grid. And then coming through for third, Charles Witz and Dries Vanthoor. Who's going to be fourth? There's the Audi. And look in the background, it is just going to be Konsta Lappalainen fourth, Ulysse de Pauw fifth, sixth, Petru Umberescu, Frank Bird, a good drive for seventh ahead of Benjamin Heites, and then Ezequiel Perez Compang in ninth. This car is going to win Pro-Am. Dominic Baumann started it, and Valentin Pierberg for the SPS Automotive Performance team bringing it home. And look at the gap that he's been able to build up over Alexander West, because not long ago did Alexander start his last lap, and the Mercedes well clear up the road, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they've done a very good job indeed. Dominic Baumann, we know from previous years in GT racing, very strong competitor and a great race car. I mean, these GT3, Mercedes AMG GT3s, this turnkey race car, whoever you give it to, you give it a race-winning car.
Well, Valentin Pierberg gets better all the time, as inevitably the AMs do. You have a good pro with them, and the pro doesn't just drive, they coach. And so it helps to unlock more pace out of the AM, and Valentin Pierberg has driven brilliantly in that race for my money. He's risen to the occasion. It is a class win for Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann, and it is a first of the season in Pro-Am. Shame we didn't have the Barwell Lamborghini, but even so, a fascinating duel between Valentin Pierberg, Dominic Baumann, Johnny Adam, Alexander West, the two top teams as the race panned out. Third in class, Louis Macchiels and Andrea Bertolini, who never really recovered from the spin early on in the race. So there is the winning car, Albert Costa, Norbert Siedler. Great job on track and in the pits, John.
Yes, I mean, a proper team effort. The benefit, of course, for the 163 was it was able to start on the second row of the grid. It didn't make the most dynamic of starts, but it was in position all the way through. Great pit stop, driver change, and then getting the car out, Norbert Siedler behind the wheel. And really, from that point forward, it was, say, plain sailing. Since we're by the sea, not inappropriate.
Whatever you mean, yes, indeed. Great drive by Siedler. Good first stint by Albert Costa. But a real shame for Timo Boguslavski, Raffaele Marciello, and of course Christian Engelhardt, Adrian Delina, Lukas Stoltz, Maro Engel. Three top teams out of the race. The results of race 2 then. 37 frantic laps done, not a safety car, not an interruption, just great racing from beginning to end. Albert Costa, Norbert Siedler the winners. Teammates Ricardo Feller, Alex Fontana second, and third after a penalty, Charles Witz and Dries Vanthoor. Fourth, Konsta Lappalainen and Jack Aitken. Fifth, Ulysse de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean from Petru Umberescu and Jules Gounon in sixth. A Silver Cup win for Ricardo Feller and Alex Fontana. Pro-Am honours in 20th to Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann. The end of a very lively race indeed. And a final word about the car that started last. Christopher Meese and Josef Ovega got up to 13th with their own pace and the travails of others. But take nothing away from Norbert Siedler and Albert Costa. Such a shame that we had that flat battery effectively for Timo Boguslavski, Raffaele Marciello's Mercedes, but that was a race that gave us plenty to talk about all the way through. And it's a very happy Albert Costa and Norbert Siedler. There they are. Gemma Scott is down there for us with the two winning drivers.
Albert, I could see you as we could see Norbert was going to come into first position. You were really excited. The emotion was incredible.
It's incredible. First victory of the year. Already last year, I took the first victory here, so it's my lucky Sunday in Zandvoort. I am really happy. We had some issues during this weekend, and today, before the race, we took one out dim lap to test the car because apparently we solved the problem. The car was better to drive, the feedback was better, and finally the luck was in my side. No, it's been 3 races in a row with Emil Frey that I don't finish because from different problems. And today we finished, and we finished in a big result. So thanks to this guy for amazing second stint, and it's his start. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, no, but I bet you didn't see that coming as it happened there. Moving into that first position must have been a great feeling.
Yeah, it was great, you know. The team told me I need to push the first 5 laps, which I did. Yes, thanks to the team, we improved the car over the weekend. Today was amazing, and thanks to also to Albert, he did the first stint, was really great. And yeah, now we can start the championship.
Congratulations to both of you. Fantastic. Well done.
Second placed Emil Frey drivers, Ricardo Fella and Alex Fontana, not far away. Looking at the third placed Audi there, with a very frustrated Charles Weerts. The Emil Frey team now had a party. More celebrations. Right, let's hear from the second place duo. Mega drive up the field from these two. Gemma, all yours.
Boys, that was absolutely fantastic. Moving up through the field like that, and a 1-2 for the team.
It was really great. I knew that our starting position was not amazing, but we knew that the car was more capable and he had the speed, so I had a clear start and managed to, because yesterday Ricardo made such a good job, he gave me the car with a good advantage. Today I wanted to return the favor, so I got as many positions as possible and to let him finish the job in a nice way. We got a few places also thanks to technical issues and problems with other competitors, but in the end I think we showed that the Emil Frey Lamborghini was very strong here in Zandvoort.
Absolutely, really strong. Have you recovering?
Yeah, like you said, it's just fantastic. I think, yeah, this weekend can't get any better. I'm really happy. Alex did an amazing job. The boys behind, unbelievable. This race was like a Swiss watch, huh? Just on point.
Well done to you both. A fantastic drive. Great results for the team. And if we just cross over this way, come with me, Guy, if you can. We'll come round to our third place drivers, Charles Weerts, Dries Vanthoor. A difficult drive for them. Difficult session. Boys, can we just jump in and have a quick word? Dries, I saw the disappointment on your face as the penalty came through.
Yeah, I don't really have a. I mean, I don't. It happens, you know. We still have to investigate what happened because I was way too slow and he didn't do anything wrong either. So, but other than that, for myself, I don't really have a lot to add. I drove like an idiot, I must say. So, not really happy with myself, but happy that we can still came third. Good for the points, and yeah, on to the next one.
Absolutely, Charles. The points are what counts, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's good we got to P3 even with the penalty. I don't understand really why we got it, but yeah, as we said, there must be a reason. So now we're gonna investigate it. But anyway, I think it's quite clear that the blue cars are definitely never touch on the rest of the field. So I think it's good that everybody saw it now. Anyway, I think they did a really good job, and I think we also did more or less the maximum we could do. So congrats to Lambo, and let's work even harder for the future.
Absolutely. Well done once again, boys. Time to make your way to the podium.
So the disappointment you could detect, couldn't you, in the voices of Charles Weerts and Dries Vanthoor. And talking about the blue cars, well, they certainly showed good pace, but you've got to say, John, that these Emil Frey Racing Lamborghinis have not just been quick, they've been driven well and they've been engineered well.
They're doing an outstanding job, and it's the continuity and consistency, particularly here this weekend. And I mean, delight for the 163 car. Ricardo Feller starting a little bit further back in the field. I mean, that was a tough start to make their way all the way up from mid-pack, and it's difficult to overtake. So good pit stops again, good timing coming in, getting back out again, and that's how you can make up positions in a difficult racetrack where it's overtaking is very hard.
Absolutely so. Well, the drivers then on the podium and are stepping forward. The drivers will come next after the pit stop challenge, which has been won by the ACA ASP team for the fastest pit stop. So €2,000 goes to the mechanics, so they can celebrate somewhere. So now the drivers will be called forward with the podiums for, of course, pros, for silvers, and for Pro-Am. So we have the overall drivers First of all, the overall top three in reverse order. Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor take third for WRT. For Emil Frey Racing, there's going to be an awful lot of blue, white and green overalls on the podium. Alex Fontana, Ricardo Feller take second place. And although frustrated with their result, Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor applaud what was a mighty drive up from mid-grid. But the top step of the podium goes to the sister car from Emil Frey Racing. It is a win for Albert Costa and Norbert Siedler. Emil Frey Racing that took its first World Challenge Europe win, if you remember, in that dramatic 6 hours of Paul Ricard in the Endurance Cup with the Lexus, but has been very successful in GT Championships with the Lamborghini. And it's a race win here for Norbert Siedler, Albert Costa and Emil Frey Racing. So great result for the Emil Frey Racing team, a 1-2-4 at the end of the second Sprint Cup race this weekend here at Zandvoort. The drivers now stand atop the podium. Congratulations, Norbert Siedler, Albert Costa, winners for Emil Frey Racing here at Zandvoort. Now, what does that do to the overall championship classification? If you take the endurance and sprint together, it means that Dries Van Thor and Charles Weerts lead ahead of Ricardo Feller. Alex Fontana third, half a point back because they've been driving with different co-drivers on occasion. So then it's Raffaele Marciello, whose frustrating season hasn't really got going yet. Earl Bamber, Mathieu Jaminet and Matt Campbell come next after the win at Paul Ricard, which was a big point-scoring race, and then it's Jules Gounon in sixth. As I say, that's the overall situation, taking sprint and endurance together. So we've done the overall podium, and so the next three crews will step forward onto the podium for the silvers, with last year's outright winner here, Ryuichiro Tomita, and Frank Bird, the auctionman, onto the podium. For second place, one of the standout performances of the weekend, Ulysse de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean for the CMR team for Bentley, taking second place, but a second silver win of the weekend to Alex Fontana and Ricardo Feller, winners yesterday as well as the outright win, class winners in second place today. Ricardo Feller and Alex Fontana have certainly had a good weekend here at Zandvoort, and as they make their way onto the podium, so too the Emil Frey Racing squad represented once again, and the celebrations will be long and loud, I suspect, for Emil Frey Racing at the end of the day. So the Swiss national anthem for Emil Frey Racing. Emil Frey go back 3 generations, began a garage business. It's now one of Switzerland's biggest car dealerships, and then there's the racing team on the back of it. So the silver drivers make their way from the podium, and this is how the Silver Cup looks outright, with Alex Fontana running away with it at the moment from Ricardo Feller. As I say, because they haven't shared cars in every event, that's why they're on this different number of points. Konstantin Tereshchenko is third, ahead of Rolf Ineichen, who's an Endurance Cup only racer. Then Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw, the efforts of this weekend largely. Simon Gachet and Thomas Drouet come next from Ryuichiro Tomita and Frank Bird, with Dennis Marshall, Alex Arkert, Stuart Hall, James Pull and Benji Goethe rounding out the leading scorers. So then the next podium is the final one. It's the Pro-Am, and for third, Andrea Bertolini after the spin early in the race, and Louis Machiels step forward for third place. Second place goes to Johnny Adam and Alexander West. The car losing ground late race, but second place it is for Garage 59, the Andrew Cody, Chris Goodwin, Alexander West owned team, and the winners for the first time, Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg, scoring honours for Mercedes for the SPS Automotive Performance team, and great to have a different class winner here on the podium at Zandvoort, as Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg win in Pro-Am. So well done to the SPS Automotive Performance team. And the class winners then for the German squad, Valentin Pierberg, the bronze-graded driver, the gold-graded Dominic Baumann. And let's just see what that does to Pro-Am outright. Johnny Adam and Alexander West lead because they do endurance and sprint. Valentin Pierberg and Dominic Baumann creeping up behind them. Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez third, but of course they've just had to skip that most recent race, Miguel Ramos being forced to get back to his family urgently. Andrea Bertolini and Louis Machiels fourth ahead of Chris Goodwin. Then it's Phil Keane and Hiroshi Hamaguchi, who again are only Endurance Cup drivers. So, very, very good race. Let's look at the highlights, which might take the best part of the hour again, really, because so much happened. Great getaway by Raffaele Marciello, putting the drop on the Dries Vanthoor Audi, which was very nearly mugged off the line by the Porsche. To the inside line went Christian Engelhardt. He did get through, and it then forced Vanthoor out wide, and he lost more ground. First of all, the Bentley, Pierre-Alexandre Jean getting up alongside him and then past him. And that was the story of the first part of the race, really, because the Porsche couldn't catch the leading Audi and nobody could get past the Bentley. Drama for Chris Froggatt. He got caught up in the traffic. That did a tyre after contact with Andrea Bertolini. It was a long in-lap, a slow lap, a tyre change, a pit stop, much time lost, and that car fell way down the order as Vanthoor tried everything he could to get past the Bentley that had so much grunt in a straight line. He finally forced a mistake out of Pierre-Alexandre Jean and went through. Then another one was made by PAJ. Mauro Engel got past him finally, but was badly delayed, and that dropped him down the order, having a bit of a rub with Christopher Hauser as well in the Audi as they went down towards turn one, and that in turn forced Engel off the road and up through the gravel. Pit window opened, being a little bit delayed was 163 as Norbert Siedler swung out from behind the traffic, but it was a good stop, and he stopped earlier than many, putting him in the mix as there was contact between Jim Clark and the Nelson Panciatici Bentley on their first lap of the second stint of the race. Drama for the leading, dominant Mercedes. The battery went flat, Tibor Boguslavski limping into the pit lane, and that put Norbert Siedler into the lead of the race as we had another off from the 52 Ferrari. Bertolini had a spin. Louis Machiels had one as well coming out of the last corner as Norbert Siedler took race honours with Albert Costa in the second Sprint Cup race of the weekend. Alex Fontana, Ricardo Feller taking second at the end of a very lively race indeed. From John Watson, Gemma Scott and David Addison for now, it's goodbye from Zandvoort.